I have my workshop and my living space apart, because if I would live at the workshop, I would be working on guitars and thinking about guitars 24/7. So it's good to have it a little bit separate. And I live here at Hofje van Nieuwkoop, in The Hague, which is downtown The Hague, center of the city. The Hofje is a typical Dutch invention, or it has a long history, 15th, 16th century. This one is a 17th century Hofje. It's houses built around a central garden. Here there are 62, and this was built in 1661. So there's a lot of history here, and I've been told by people, my slogan is modern playability, vintage vibe for the guitars, and some people have told me, oh, you even live like that. You have a vintage vibe in your space, and yet, of course, it is a little bit modernized with stuff that we have today. And the workshop is very close by, just a 3 minutes walk. So I can spend as much time as I want there. This is getting somewhere. Here it's a difference. It's getting more vibrant when I carve the braces. I play guitar for a long time now. Started playing guitar when I was about 11, 12. My father had a guitar. He played. It was a white jazz kind of unplayable thing. And my teacher at school, he also played guitar, and he said, "Okay, I can teach you some lessons, some songs." And so he started teaching me children songs that I didn't really like. So I said to him, "Don't you have something else?" And he said, "Yeah, we could try the blues." And I said, "Yeah, let's do that." And that's I like that, the feeling and the vibe. I was 12, 13 when I discovered Jimi Hendrix, and that was a whole new experience for me. I had just discovered him when he died, 1970, and but the guitar, I knew that the guitar was my thing. So I kept on playing. I got a classical guitar, started to try some classical stuff. And I just kept on playing, and also when I was 15, 16 years old, I was in high school, and you had to make something, with your hands in class. And I thought, well, why not try to make a guitar? I have to make something anyway. And I did, and it was horrible, of course. It was just, but the moment when I had made something, put strings on it, and had sound, that was a magical moment for me. I think from that moment on, I was hooked on making things and knowing that I could make something with a sound. Then I found a book in the library, because there was no internet, of course, nothing. You have to have everything from books or from other people. And this book was about making a classical guitar. Inspiration is very important to me in guitar making, and one of my inspiration sources is the work of Antonio de Torres, born 1870, and he made guitars until 1892, classical guitars. And he was a master of combining pieces of wood that weren't really so spectacular, but he always knew how to use a piece of wood for its best advantage. Now, and he used woods with a little bit of a flaw, like this one. Look at that one. This is two-piece maple and cypress, but that no guitar maker today would make a guitar like that. I love that because it's character and it's telling a story about the guitar. So that's inspiration for me, and I try to find pieces of wood that talk to me, that have a vibe of their own, and they don't have to be perfect. In fact, I don't want them to be perfect. I like it when it has a little bit, character, a little bit, maybe a flaw or a little knot or something that tells a story of the tree, and like for example this top. There is a little bit of blue stain. Luckily, the most is in the back, but that's caused because when the tree was cut down, it was left too long in the forest, and then you get some fungus into the tree, and there's a little bit on the top. I don't mind. I like that for the story. There is a little bit here, sort of above here has been a knot, and this is called a shadow of a knot. It's cut out because of the shape, but I like that. I mean, it tells a story that the tree had a little branch there, and that's the way I select my wood. I want to look I want it to look great, but it can have some color, or if you look, there's a little bit blue here, and this is from the outer edge of the tree. I can do it blonde. I can make a sunburst of this guitar. Sometimes I have materials too small for a two-piece back, and then I use a three-piece back, like Torres also did many times. He even made 3- and 4-piece tops, and the guitars sound great. And again, this adds character to the piece. I think there were 2 black spots here. Yeah, what can you do? It's a natural material, and that happens. This is by pen, by accident. It's not in the wood. Yeah. This is maple that was infected. The tree was infected, and then it produces this incredible black lines. It's great wood to use. You have to be careful because some parts are softer than other parts, but if you can lay out the pattern, then you have the hardwood in the pattern of the guitar, then it's fantastic to work with. This is like, of course, a very special guitar. It doesn't sound different, just looks different. So I try to, when I start a guitar, I take out the pieces that I like that would fit together to be a nice guitar. I don't want the most spectacular woods. I made that mistake many times. I thought if I have the best material possible, I make a beautiful guitar. No, it's not like that. You have to try to make it a unified thing, and the quality of the cosmetic quality of the wood is you have to take it into account and then do something with it. Like here, this. I think I even like this better than a 2-piece bird's eye maple top. My father was handy. He could, what he saw with his eyes, he could make with his hands. So we had a lot of tools around the house. And I thought, well, why not try and make a classical guitar? And I also started to discover the beauty of wood. I like wood, the smell and the way that every piece of wood is different. So with the help of that book, I think it was a book by Irving Sloan, a book that started many guitar makers on their career, because there was not much available. I made a classical guitar, and that was also, of course, a hopeless guitar, but it still worked, and I still had a sound. And yeah, after I made that first one, I wanted to make the second one, and so on, so on. I never stopped doing it. And of course, you make one guitar a year, so it takes 10 years to make 10. So it's a very slow learning process. I was lucky to, in the 80s, late 80s, to be able to study with Romanelius. Jose Romanelius, a famous guitar maker, he's deceased a few years ago. And that was kind of a sort of a course in Belgium with 20 other guitar makers from Sweden to Spain. And we worked 2 weeks on guitars. And Jose taught us things. He was a very good teacher in a way that he could precisely feel where somebody, I wasn't like in the middle. There were people less experienced, people more experienced than I was. But he could exactly pinpoint where you were and give you that lesson that could get you further. I mean, if you're over here and your teacher is over there, it doesn't work. There's too much distance. So I kept on making classical guitars, flamenco guitars. Just in my spare time, I had a job also, a part-time job. I had my family, my daughter. So, you know, you have to make a living. So that was, the classical guitars were getting better and better. But I was not really happy with the result. I felt that I should do better. And one day I went to Köln with a guitar in hand to show it to a guy in a big music shop. And he looked at the guitar. I said, yeah, well, yeah, very nice. And then he said, do you want to see some really good guitars? I said, yeah, sure. So he took me downstairs. The shop was in a bank building, and they had the big vault, you know, with the big wheel door going open. And there were the Haeseler, Romanelius, Robert Ruck, Friedrich, all the famous makers. And he said, well, go ahead, play. And I thought, oh, well, sure. So I started to play. And I was getting more and more frustrated because, you know, I thought, okay, these people have the same tools that I have. They have the same wood that I have. But how do they do it? I didn't know. I thought, okay, I'm at my peak. I don't know how to, you know, I mean, it's like anyone can play a nice game of tennis, but you'll never be Roger Federer, no matter how you practice. You know, so I thought I was at I was hitting the horizon with the classical. I didn't really know what to do. Almost at the point of giving up. Then, luckily, it was 1995. At that time, somebody called and said, "Do you make jazz guitars?" I said, "Yeah." I didn't, and we made an appointment. But this person never showed up because he probably heard in my voice that I didn't make jazz guitars. But then I thought, jazz guitars, you know, maybe let's look into. Again, it was the time before the internet, so I had to go to the library. I didn't know anything about jazz or jazz guitars, and I did some research, and I thought, well, try one. You never know. And making a jazz guitar is quite different from making a classical, because basically a classical guitar is a flat box, thin wood. The archtop guitar is much more like the cello and the violin. It has arched, carved top and back. So I thought I will probably make one and then never again, because I thought this is really a lot of work to make such a guitar. And I made one, and it was pretty nice. And well, from that time on, I've only made jazz guitars, because in the jazz guitar, I still feel that I haven't reached that horizon that I was at with the classical guitars, not knowing what to do. I still think I can grow, I can develop, I have new ideas, and that's a good feeling when you can't wait to make the next one. I mean, it's called the violin maker's plane, because violin makers also use it. This is a rough carved top. This wood I take away by machine with a router, and the rest is done with this little plane and scraping and sanding. And there's a saying with archtop guitar makers that you take 80% of the wood away in 20% of the time, because this was a thick piece, and you take 20% of the wood away in 80% of the time, because this. And if you've done the top, then goes the back, because this is still thick, so you have to hollow it out again with the plane, and that's why they're called carved tops. So you have to a little bit find out how the grain is running and see what the plane is doing. You have to go the other way. And also this sound and the resistance of the wood is giving me information about how strong the wood is, how it sounds. And you don't get that with the machine, with the router, because you only hear the loud noise of the machine. And this is telling me something. If the wood is, how it works. It's really difficult to explain, but yeah, this gives me information of how to proceed, how thick it will be in the end, if it's strong, if it's flexible, and that all makes can make a big difference in the sound. This is particularly light wood. It carves easy. So this will be a very responsive. You can already hear it now. There is sound in here. And my job is to get that out in a nice guitar. I feel if there are any high or low spots, it should be, of course, be a unit. I don't have any templates or so to I just feel. Yeah. It may look like hard work, it really isn't if you've done it a few times. And this is a part that I very much enjoy. This is nice work. And I started listening to jazz players as much as I could. I mean, I didn't have much money, so I listened to the radio. There were some recordings in the Netherlands in the BIM house. Every week there was a new player, and then I started to discover Charlie Christian, of course. I heard Jimmy Rainey. I heard older Kenny Burrell. And I thought, oh, that is a sound that I like. A pure, almost acoustic-like sound. I didn't like the processed kind of thing that some people do. And then next thing, of course, I found out. So what are those guitars? Usually they were older guitars, vintage guitars, pre-war or just after the war, and most of them with a Charlie Christian pickup, which is the first electric pickup ever invented, 1936. And I thought, well, that is the sound that I like. But of course, it was impossible to find a pickup like that. By that time there was some internet, so I could shop there, and I found Lollar pickups that sounded very good, and I used them in the first guitars. After that, I came in contact with CC pickups in Great Britain, and those pickups are excellent pickups. I've used them since then. I use them now. They are kind of copies of the older pickups. With this guy, he measured all the metals and everything. He made sort of a remake of the old pickup. I've never been able to buy an old pickup because you just don't see them. In the 20s, 30s, the guitar was a rhythm instrument, not amplified, playing rhythm in the band with bass and drums. And that all changed when the electric pickup was invented, and of course also the amplifier. In 1936, this was the first pickup used on a guitar. And one of the famous people using it was, of course, Charlie Christian. And this pickup has gotten the name Charlie Christian pickup because that's what he used in his guitars. It's very heavy. We'll show that later, because these are the magnets, and this is the coil. The magnets are very large because they did not know how to magnetize metal strongly, so they had to use big metals to get this magnetic field going to get some sound out of the pickup. And they did a wonderful job, because this, to me, this is the best sounding pickup ever. Yeah. Single coil, clarity, and it's kind of the only pickup that's warm and transparent at the same time. You don't find that in other pickups. Mm-hmm. My favorite, but this is what the bar, like it was made in the early years. My friend Dirk van der Meij makes it adjustable, not compensated. So you have the G string is higher than the B string, so the sound is equal. With this pickup, there was a little bit of a problem that the B string was always louder than the G. And this is kind of an improvement over that. After the war, these Charlie Christian pickups did not return on the guitars. And the P90 came into the world with smaller magnets, because now they could make smaller magnets and still have a good magnetic field. Mm-hmm. Smaller coil, and adjustable pole pieces, which is also handy. You can adjust the output of each string the way that you like it. A single coil pickup, great sounding. I'm a single coil man. I love single coil pickups. Sometimes you get a little bit of problem with hum, so the development, of course, went further on in 1957. I can remember that because of my year of birth is also 1957. Mm-hmm. Then they invented the humbucker. Mm-hmm. And it was, in a way, an improvement over these pickups, because they invented humbucking pickup. The word all says it all. It prevents this noise coming from your amplifier. It also changes the sound a little bit. Still a great sound, but like I said, I'm a single coil man, so
No, they have two coils.
Two coils
Yeah.
that in the noise cancel each other, but the sound is of course getting through. But it's hard to tell how it's different from these. These are maybe a little more clarity, a little more transparent than the humbucker, but still a great sound. Many people like it. Now, I told you about the weight of this pickup. This pickup, feel that? Extremely heavy.
Yes.
And we can put it on a scale, and I can show you that in a guitar, the top, this is a completed top, is as heavy as the pickup. See how much that is? That is 380 grams. Now, if we put the complete top, this is a complete top, it's all finished, it has the braces and the holes, everything. Weigh that, and it is, 400 exactly. So that's a minimum, it's 20 grams weight difference. In fact, when you put in the pickup, you double the weight of the top. And somehow over the years, I've found my way of sort of compensating that and still have a great acoustic sound. It is mounted with these 3 screws over here. They go through the holes over here with springs. And that means that it's sort of a suspended pickup. You can do the bass a little higher, treble a little higher, or the pickup, you can move it up and down. I think also the suspension of the pickup, in some way it also contributes to the sound. I don't know how, but it's a great system of mounting the pickup. And it was all invented in the 30s of the previous century, and still works today. When you have an electric guitar, you also need an amplifier. And that was invented right along the same time in the 30s when the electric guitar came out. This was the amplifier, covered in very nice cloth and tubes, of course, and just a few simple, you have volume and one tone selector, normal or bass tone. And I'm very lucky to have this, especially because it still has the original speaker, which is a field coil speaker, and you need that for the sound. And again, like I said, with a guitar, the pickup was perfect, and this amp is perfect as well. It has a wonderful sound. Even this is great because you can kick this. It's metal, so that means that your speaker is protected forever. It's still working 80 or 90 years later. And you can close it down and take it with you. And somebody also had the idea to make a sort of idyllic. I don't know why, but I thought it was nicer, so I left it there. And it was made in the fabric of the time. Also, the cases were made with this great stripes. So it looks great, it sounds great, and what else do you need? So I got the question, can you make me an instrument in a style like that? That feels like a vintage instrument, plays, sounds like a vintage instrument. And if it gets stolen, I just come to you and then you'll make a new one. I can leave my vintage guitar at home. So I started doing that. Also making them look like 30, 40, 50 years old, not too much, but some damage, some craquelé, you know, and I process the lacquer in a way that it looks like it's older, even when it's a new guitar, and that sort of developed my style. Sort of, I don't copy older instruments, but I get inspired by them. Of course, you can see that in almost every guitar that I make. And well, that became quite a success. Not in a way that I could say, well, I can make a living. I did it for a few years, and then the financial thing happened. Then it got a little bit difficult with the business because everybody thought, let's not spend, let's sit on our money. And the guitar is, of course, a luxury item. So then I had to go back to doing a part-time job again. So I could have given up making guitars many times. There was no money in it. It was just I wanted to do it. It's the greatest thing I can do. Then again, I got lucky. I'm a lucky guy. Again, I was lucky. I was sitting at my computer in 2013, and I got a mail from Pat Metheny. And I thought, whoa, mail from Pat Metheny. I did not see that coming. And it was, just an ordinary mail address like you and I have. Pat Metheny at apple.com. So at first I thought, well, I don't believe it. I thought I have friends that would do that. Because the mail said, yeah, very polite, I've seen your guitars and I liked them and it's very interesting, and we're playing a gig in Utrecht in the Netherlands. And Pat wanted to come over to the workshop, but of course, the show had to go on next day, another place, so there was no time for that. He very politely asked me if I could meet him in Utrecht and show a few guitars. So I thought, yeah, I could do that. And so I went there, and first of all, I called the venue to say, hello, I'm Daniel Slaman. I have an appointment with Pat Metheny. So what do I have in my car? I have guitars. So how do I get in? Because he wanted to meet before the show. And so this man on the phone, he said, yeah. Are you on the guest list? I said, no. No. Yeah, you have to be on the guest list, otherwise you can't come in. Yeah, well. And then he said, but don't you have contact with the management of Pat Metheny? I said, no, I've contact with Pat himself. And he said, oh yeah, he wouldn't really believe me like you're, having a phone call with email with Beyonce or. But in the end, it worked out. I went to the show and I brought 3 or 4 guitars, and I met Pat 2 hours before the show. Very nice, very polite guy, and he started playing. And I just, let him play and not saying too much. I mean, the instruments speak for themselves. And at some moment he started playing really, intensely and for an hour. And it got almost to a point that I wanted to say, man, slow down. You still have a whole concert to do, but it turns out that he does that every time before the concert. He plays in 2 hours. And well, in the end, he said, well, I would like you to make me a guitar. I said, okay. I did not see that coming. So we talked about the specification, what he said, what he liked in the guitars. And of course, I was a little bit confused. And afterwards, the tour manager came to see me and he said, well, how did it go with Pat? And I said, well, he wants me to make him a guitar. And the tour manager said, well, then you must be doing something very well, very good. Because every day, every show, we get the guitar makers bringing guitars to Pat. And please, will you play my guitar? He said, we have guitar makers coming in that want to pay that Pat plays the guitar. So when he asked you, then you're in business. I said, well, I don't know. I still have to make the guitar. So yeah, I asked Pat, what do you want? What you want to use it for? What do you want to do with it? He said, well, I want to use it for recordings, maybe for composing at home. I said, oh, okay. So I made the best possible guitar I could in the vintage style, because that's what he wanted, with a Charlie Christian pickup. I made the guitar, and he was very pleased with it, and he liked it so much that he wanted to play it in public on shows. And that was, sort of a problem, but because he was playing Ibanez guitars. Okay, we worked that out with Ibanez and with Pat and with me, that Ibanez allowed him to play my guitar in public. And then of course people started to see that. And everybody was saying, what's happening? What is that guitar that Pat is playing? It has a Charlie Christian, it's an old guitar, where does it come from? So then the whole internet thing started. And people found out that it was me. And after that, orders came in. I didn't have to do any marketing anymore, nothing. I had plenty of orders, which was really, after 35 years of working and not selling much, that was a big difference. So I from 2014 until now, 24, I've made a lot of guitars to order, all in that kind of style, with some small differences, bigger, smaller, cutaway, non-cutaway, always in that Charlie Christian vintage style. And I will continue to do that. But from now on, not making any guitars to order, but just my own models, and I'll put them on the internet for sale. I was really lucky to So I asked Pat, how did you find me? Why did you find me? And it was just also again luck that he was just in the state of his career that he started to get interested in vintage guitars. They always looked at a guitar as a tool, like a carpenter has a hammer. This is like the guitar I built for Pat Metheny. It has pretty much all the features. In the neck you have the picture frame inlays, spruce carved top. It will have the Charlie Christian pickup, maple back and sides, carved top. The back is arched with braces, so it's not carved. And that was the way that in the 30s the guitars were made. He was aware of the fact that I also made nylon strings, so he asked me, can you make me a nylon string jazz guitar? At the time he was playing Ovation guitars in shows. And I said, yeah, sure. Are you going to use it for home recording, or are you going to use it for on the road? And he said, no, on the road. I thought, okay. So I set out working on that guitar, and I thought, oh, I must make it a little bit heavier because he's on the road 6 months a year all around the planet. So I made it a little heavier in construction, a little heavier top, rosewood back and sides. And in the end I put the nylon strings on it, and it did not work because I made it too heavy. And the strings could not drive the top. The sound was not good, so Pat did never see this guitar. Because the starting point for me is always the acoustic sound of a guitar. So that has to be okay. And then when you have a good pickup, the pickup doesn't have to do anything, just to amplify the good sound that a guitar already has. If you start with a bad sounding guitar, you can have a good pickup it's not going to work. So I found a way, I don't exactly know how, but I found a way to make, even with the big pickup in the guitar, to make still make a acoustic responsive instrument. And also my guitars have a good treble, a good even in the higher registers. And again, I'm not quite sure how I do it. People have told me, and I think they have a point, that it comes from the fact that I've been working with the classical guitars for 15 years. Because with the classical guitars, the treble string is the string that you're building for. That has to be, so my focus was also always on the treble thing. And I think people tell me, and I think that they might be right, that I've continued that thought into the jazz guitars. So they still have a good, strong, powerful, beautiful treble, where many archtop guitars go wrong. I kind of know how to do that, and yeah, make a really responsive and even sounding instrument. One of the things that Pat said to me is, he said, yeah, with many guitars, when he was playing here and there, he had the idea that he had played 3 guitars, and he said, with your guitar, it's all one. You know, it's one guitar. If you play here, you play high. It's all not the feeling that you're playing different instruments. I mean, you can put any pickup in my guitar, and it would still sound good. I prefer the Charlie Christian, of course. It starts with the selection of wood. I select wood that I have a feeling that a piece of wood has a kind of a vibe. I don't go for the perfect most expensive quality wood most of the time, because I find that a little bit boring. I want some kind of human thing in it, you know. So maybe a small nut, or the grains are getting a little wider, or that it gives the guitar character. No, it's not true that the best looking fine grain wood, that it doesn't sound better than wood which is sort of lesser. It's more of a marketing thing, you know, so they can price the A grade wood higher than the lesser grade wood. Doesn't make any difference. Well, so far I've told you I'm a lucky guy in many ways, and not only that I made a career out of guitar making. I'm also lucky with friends. My girlfriend. I have a daughter. I have 2 lovely grandchildren now. So I live in this great place, and so I started to think I'm the cosmos, or whatever there is giving me too much. I mean, a lot of people are pretty worse than me in the world. Also, it probably started also because I had now grandchildren. When your children are born in the Netherlands, I mean, you have every opportunity. It's a free country, and lots of education possibilities. You can become anything that you want. So I thought I want to return something to the world. I'm not the kind of guy to go out to Africa and work there for 6 months or so. I like to work alone. That's why I make guitars. You know, I work alone all day. I love that. I can't be around too much people. So I thought, well, that is not an option. And I got inspired by seeing people doing things on the internet. For example, David Gilmour, the Pink Floyd guitarist. He sold his whole collection with which he made all these famous records for a big amount of money. If I don't remember how much, but a big amount of money, and he donated that to climate research. And that kind of thing, I started to think about that, and I thought, can I do something like that? And of course, well, you can just give away money to charity, but I thought, well, maybe it felt better for me to on my part also make it visible for people. Like I was inspired by the people that I saw. I thought maybe I can also inspire people, so I took the long way, the more difficult way, to make a foundation. And you have to have a board and a bank account, and everything. It was a long process. But and make a website, of course. But I thought it felt better for me to make it visible. And if we are going to wait for the big companies or the government to change things, I think it's pretty obvious that we can wait for a long time. And individual people can make a difference, I think. So I started to talk to some people if they were interested in doing that. And yes, they found it a great idea. I thought, well, I had more orders, of course, with the Pat Metheny thing happening. And I thought, well, if the business is going well, I can have the money for one guitar a year at least can go to the foundation. And next thing we'll do is find projects that do something for children, because children are the future, and I have my grandchildren, of course. And I thought, anywhere in the world, doesn't really matter where. In terms of security or education or health, that's that kind of thing. And well, we have been doing that since 2020. Every year we give away money to projects. I've met a lot of enthusiastic people, people that have bought a guitar from me, paid extra for the foundation, and people want to do things. We have an accountant that does this thing for free because it's a good course. So it's kind of started rolling a little bit and started to get known. And we had one project. We gave 1,250 euros to one project, which for us, it's not nothing, but it's not a big amount of money. But we got in return from the people in that country that they had a small school. One day a week, children would come there. Otherwise, they were just running around. One day in the week, they had a shower. They got their teeth brushed. Things that are so normal for us are not normal in a lot of countries. And they try to teach the children something, and we got back from that project. That's for 1,250 euros. They can pay a teacher for a whole year. It's not too much money for us, but there you do make a difference. It's nice for people to receive a gift. It gets something going in your head that feels nice. But it's scientifically proven that the same things happen in your head when you give something to people, and that really is. It's also for ourselves. It's a good feeling that you try to make the world just maybe a little better, and we enjoy doing it, and we keep doing it. We have now also a younger board member, which is also nice to see young people also having an interest in doing something for the world. And so this has been, we're going into our fourth year now, and it's going strong, and we enjoy doing it. Yeah.